Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB game scheduled for Saturday, August 5th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $19 rundown best bet, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Saturday in Major League Baseball. First up, it's Houston Astros taking on the New York Yankees. Justin Verlander's first start back as an Astro, and Nestor Cortez's first start back at the Major League level since May 30th when he was placed on the 60-day IL. Now, Cortez made a rehab start in Double-A, pitched well in that game, 6 1/3 innings, only 1 run allowed. It was a home run, but 9 strikeouts as well. I think Cortez will pitch well for the Yankees down the stretch this season, but I just don't love this matchup for his first start back. Facing the Astros team, it's top 5 in baseball in the last month in OPS and isolated power against lefties, with the second lowest strikeout rate at 16.3% as well. Justin Verlander just faced this lineup, the Yankees lineup back on July 25th. 6 innings, a shutout ball with 6 strikeouts, only 2 base hits allowed in a 9-3 Mets win. And overall, Verlander was pitching really well before the trade deadline for the Mets, as his last 3 starts, 1 earned run or fewer allowed in those ball games. So I'm going to take the Houston Astros here on the money line on the road at Yankee Stadium. Next up, it's the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Detroit Tigers. Aaron Civale and Tarik Skubal are your starters. Of course, it's going to be Civale's Rays debut here after he was traded by the Guardians at the deadline. And I know a lot of people were a little bit confused by that trade because the Guardians have a lot of injuries in their starting rotation right now. Guys like Shane Bieber, Cal Quantrill, Tristan McKenzie have been out for extended periods of time. And the Guardians are still fighting for a spot in the playoffs in the AL Central race right now, going into Friday's games, 2.5 games back of the Twins. So you wouldn't think they would trade away a starting pitcher, especially a guy with a 2.34 ERA and a 5-2 record for you. But when you look at the expected numbers, you start to think maybe the Guardians were trying to sell high with Civale because, yes, he's got a 2.34 ERA, but a 4.58 xFIP, which is the highest since his rookie year, the lowest strikeout rate of his career, and the highest walk rate of his career so far. So, a little bit concerning going forward. I think there's value with the Tigers in this game. I mean, Skubal, he's had 2 bad starts this year, one against the Marlins last start and the other one against the Royals back on July 18th. But both of those games were on the road. So far, Comerica Park, he's yet to give up a single earned run this season. So he's facing a Rays team that is, have a very low BABIP against lefties in the last month. So you expect some positive regression going forward. But nonetheless, it's 27th in baseball in team OPS against lefties in the last 30 days. Getting a really good price here with Detroit, with arguably the better starting pitcher, in my opinion, and a bullpen that's improving. I'm going to take the Detroit Tigers on the money line at home. Next up, it's the Atlanta Braves taking on the Chicago Cubs. Bryce Elder going for Atlanta, no official starter for the Cubs. The Braves earned the blowout victory 8-0 on Friday afternoon. It's tough to go against Atlanta here. Elder's pitched well on the road this season with a sub-3 ERA. His last 2 starts against the Brewers, 13 innings of work, 3 runs. His strikeout numbers aren't great this year. That's why his expected numbers aren't the best, but he's more of a pitch-to-contact guy. He limits sharp contact. I think he pitches well in this game, and I also think the Braves lineup will be able to back him up. So give me the Atlanta Braves here on the money line and run line in this one. Next up, it's the Miami Marlins taking on the Texas Rangers. No official starter for Miami, but John Gray should be going for the Rangers. And Gray struggled his last start on July 24th against the Astros. 6 earned runs allowed in 5 innings of work and a 10-9 Rangers loss. In the month of July, in general, Gray had an ERA of 5.48, so he's not really in the best of form going into this start. And even though the Marlins hit lefties better than righties, I still think Miami, with their new look lineup after the trade deadline, adding Josh Bell and Jake Berger to the lineup, should be able to get to John Gray here. On the other side, the Rangers lineup, one of the best lineups in baseball. Against lefties, against righties, they've been pretty consistent this year. I think we see a high-scoring game in this one. Give me the over here in Miami, Texas. Next up, we see the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Boston Red Sox. Jose Barrios for Toronto, no official starter for the Red Sox. Now, Barrios has faced this Red Sox lineup twice. In 11 1/3 innings, he's given up 16 base hits, 9 earned runs, and 5 home runs for a 7.15 ERA. We know Barrios really in his career and this season as well has been better at home than on the road. He's got a 2.72 ERA at home this season, but an ERA just below 4 at 3.82 on the road. I do think the Red Sox get to him. I mean, this Red Sox lineup's been hitting righties very well in the last month. The Red Sox bullpen's also been improved in the last 30 days, so give me the Boston Red Sox here on the money line at Fenway Park. Next up, it's the Washington Nationals taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Trevor Williams and Andrew Abbott are your projected starters. Not my favorite game on the board, but I'll lean towards the over here at Great American. Trevor Williams not really in great form going into this start. His last 10 innings against the Mets and Rockies, 16 base hits, 9 earned runs, 2 homers, 4 walks, and only 5 strikeouts to go with it. facing a pretty tough Reds lineup on the other side. The Nationals bullpen behind him, also not great this year. Andrew Abbott is a lefty. He's been pitching well for Cincinnati overall this season. His last start, though, not his best against the Cubs on the road. 3 1/3 innings, 4 runs, a home run, 3 walks to go with it. He is facing a national team that's hit lefties pretty well this season. Very low strikeout rate in the last month. Good OPS and isolated power numbers. The Reds bullpen also has some regression concerns going forward. Give me the over here in Washington, Cincinnati. Next up, it's the Kansas City Royals taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Alec Marsh and Christopher Sanchez are your starters. The Royals have been pretty profitable in the underdog role in the last week or so, but I got to go with the Phillies in this game, laying the 1.5 runs. Alec Marsh just has not been great in the starting pitching role. So far, 23 innings as a starter this year, 9 home runs allowed and 15 walks as well. He's got decent strikeout stuff, but I just don't trust him here, giving up a lot of sharp contact. The control's been a problem. The Phillies don't have the best numbers against righties in the last 30 days, but they still have some powerful bats at the top of that lineup that I do think will be able to get to Alec Marsh early. And the Royals bullpen behind them has not been great this season, even though the Phillies bullpen also has some regression concerns going forward. I like Sanchez in this matchup. He's keeping the ball on the ground. His last start against the Pirates, 5 innings of shutout baseball, no hits allowed. His control's been decent. His strikeout numbers have also been solid. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Phillies here, laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, we go to Camden Yards as the New York Mets take on the Baltimore Orioles. Tyler McGill and Kyle Gibson are your starters. McGill struggling at the Major League level this season. It's going to be his first start back at the Major League since June 21st. He's got a 5.17 ERA overall, but an even higher 7.99 ERA on the road this season in 32 2/3 innings. A very steep 345 opponent's batting average in those games with a below strikeout per inning on the road as well. I think the Orioles will be able to get to him, and it's not so great Mets bullpen. Kyle Gibson, even though he's got that ERA of 4.5 on the season, he's been a lot better as of late with 3 straight quality starts against the Rays, Phillies, and Blue Jays. Some tough lineups there with decent strikeout numbers, good control, and only 1 home run allowed along the way. Give me the Baltimore Orioles here on the money line and the run line at Camden Yards. Next up, we see the San Francisco Giants taking on the Oakland Athletics. Ross Stripling and Paul Blackburn on the mound in this one. I'm going to take the 1.5 runs here with the Oakland A's at home. Paul Blackburn has been better at home this season than on the road. He's been better as of late. His last 2 starts against the Astros and Rockies, one of those starts at Coors Field. He goes 11 1/3 innings combined, giving up only 3 runs with 12 strikeouts and only 1 home run allowed in those 2 games. Both of those were victories for the A's, 4-1 and 11-3. Ross Stripling 0-4 this season with a 5.52 ERA. He's been better as of late, but still, we know he's lost a lot of games for San Francisco this season. The Giants' offense is starting to struggle. Give me the Oakland A's here, plus the 1.5 runs. Next up, we go to Minnesota as the Diamondbacks take on the Twins. Ryan Nelson and Kenta Maeda are your starting pitchers. We had a Diamondbacks team that's really struggling offensively right now and facing Kenta Maeda, who has been really strong for the Twins in their rotation recently. He struggled early on this season. That's why his ERA is still at 4.5 on the year. But look at his last 5 starts, 3 earned runs or fewer in all 5 of those games. Good strikeout numbers for Maeda. Now, he's faced some weak lineups, the Royals twice, the A's, but the Diamondbacks, like I mentioned, have really struggled against lefties, against righties in the last month, so I think Maeda pitches well. Twins bullpen behind has been solid this season. Ryan Nelson has also been really sharp on the road this year. He hasn't pitched well at Chase Field with that 8.01 ERA, but on the road at 70 2/3 innings, a 2.67 ERA. Give me the under here in Arizona, Minnesota. Next up, we see the Chicago White Sox taking on the Cleveland Guardians. Michael Kopech going for Chicago, no official starter for the Guardians. It would have been Aaron Savale's start in the rotation, but could be a bullpen game here. I like the Guardians no matter what. Michael Kopech has really struggled as of late, giving up a lot of sharp contact against these Guardians. Back on July 30th, he gave up 2 home runs, 3 earned runs, and 5 walks in a 5-0 Guardians win. The White Sox are 1-4 in his last 5 starts, with all 4 of those losses being by 2 or more runs. The White Sox offensively in the last month, some of the worst numbers against righties in baseball. Against lefties, not too much better. Give me the Guardians with the better lineup, probably the better starting pitcher. We'll see who the official starter is, and the much better bullpen in this one. Next up, we see the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Corbin Burns going for Milwaukee, no official starter for the Buccos. Now, we talked about it in the beginning of this series, that the Brewers have done such a good job against the Pirates and in general in the season series, but more so at American Family Field or at home. And we saw the first game of this series, a 14-1 blowout win for the Brewers. I think we see another win and run line cover here with Burns on the bump, who has been very sharp for Milwaukee as of late. In the month of July, 39 innings of work, a 1.85 ERA. He had 47 strikeouts and only 2 home runs allowed. He's in good form going into this game. The Pirates lineup has struggled. Their bullpen's been solid, but for a full 9 innings, if this is a bullpen game, I don't really love their chances. Give me the Milwaukee Brewers here, laying the 1.5 runs at home. Next up, we go to St. Louis as the Rockies take on the Cardinals. Ty Blach and Steven Matz are your starters. Steven Matz, we've talked about, has actually improved his game quite a bit as of late. Got to give him credit. His ERA right now just a little bit above 4 at 4.06. His last 2 starts, shutout baseball in both of those games, 6 innings apiece against the Diamondbacks and Cubs. His strikeout numbers are decent, but the big thing is his control has been sharp. Only 2 walks allowed his last 3 games combined. No home runs allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts. He's facing a Rockies team, and overall this season has not hit lefties too well. And I think he pitches well in this game, gives the Cardinals a good shot to win it and cover the run line in the end. Ty Blach has been decent for the Rockies as of late as well. His last start, 5 innings, no earned runs against Oakland in a 2-0 Rockies win. The problem for me is that Rockies bullpen. Blach doesn't usually go too deep into ball games. He was mostly featured out of the bullpen at the beginning of the season. So I'm going to take the St. Louis Cardinals, lean towards the under as well, but the Cardinals on the run line in this one. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the San Diego Padres. Blake Snell for San Diego, no official starter for Los Angeles. I'm going to take the Padres in the first 5 innings of this game. Blake Snell usually doesn't go too deep into ball games. His pitch counts usually go up pretty early in starts, and he's a strikeout-dependent starter. But in June, he had a .87 ERA. In July, even better, .56. His strikeout numbers are there. He hasn't given up a single home run in 6 straight starts. So it's tough to go against him right now, even against the Dodgers lineup that's been crushing lefties this season and is number 1 in baseball in team OPS against lefties in the last month. I still got to go with the Padres here in the first 5. I think the Dodgers have the advantage in the bullpen. When Snell makes his way out of the ballgame, San Diego's bullpen hasn't been the best in the last month or so. So give me the Padres in the first 5 innings here, laying the half a run. And the final game for Saturday's card in Major League Baseball, it's the Seattle Mariners taking on the Los Angeles Angels. George Kirby and Tyler Anderson are your starting pitchers in this one. Now, Anderson has improved his game as of late. He's given up 3 earned runs or fewer in 4 of his last 5 starts. But I still, even though the Mariners don't hit lefties too well, I just worry about this Angels bullpen. I don't think Anderson's going to go too deep into this ball game. As of late, he's been able to go 6 and 6 1/3, but overall this year hasn't really pitched deep into ball games often. And George Kirby's been solid on the other side for Seattle, a little bit inconsistent in his last 5 starts or so, but still good strikeout numbers, limiting the home run balls. Control's been good. The Mariners have won each of his last 3 starts, so I think Kirby is the better option on the mound to start this game. And I also think the Mariners have a big advantage in the bullpen. We saw that first game of this series where the Mariners were down by 2 runs going into the 9th. They hit a grand slam in the 9th inning against one of the better closers and one of the better relievers that the Angels have, and the Seattle wins that one 5-3. So this Angels bullpen has an ERA above 6 in the last month. Not very good expected numbers to go with it. Seattle has a big advantage there, so if it's a close game in the middle innings, even if the Angels have a lead in the middle innings, I still think you got to worry about a Seattle comeback. So give me the Mariners here on the money line on the road. And that's it. Those are the games for Saturday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.